And then Wendy H. And I emigrated. You're doing this to keep my grandbabies away from me. Yes, the grandbabies she didn't have. Welcome to Redditor, where we shamelessly ask you to subscribe and like the video if you enjoy it, and where we say to smash the bell and hate ourselves for it while we go down an existential crisis mentally that slowly eats away at you day after day, video after video, late night of editing after late night of editing, until one day they find you on the roof barking at traffic with your underwear on your head blasting turn down for what from a speaker stuck in your whoa, sorry, blacked out there for a second. Anyway, on with the video. Enjoy. Fiance and mother-in-law wants me to name my son after my deceased brother-in-law. Okay Reddit, this is a tricky one. I've come from Am I the Bunghalio BTW. It's worth noting that my mother-in-law is generally nice, but has kinda gone crazy due to this situation. So I'm 33 weeks pregnant with mine and my fiance's son. So when my husband was around 10, his older brother died in an accident. The brother was a third. My fiance and the in-laws want our son's first name to be the same as my deceased brother-in-law. His brother's middle name was Donald, and I'm not willing to use that as a first, and preferably a middle, for obvious reasons. We agreed, with many compromises, that the middle name will be Don. The first name in question is a nice name and I would be more than happy to use it if I didn't have history with it. It was the same name as my abusive ex. This dude was bad. Let's say the first name is Alexander. I can't think of the name without thinking of my ex. When my fiance brought up the idea of naming our son after his brother, I refused and told him why. He kept persisting, like wouldn't stop, and he was saying things like my brother couldn't carry on the line, so it's only fair that I could, and it's the perfect way to honor his legacy. I know it's unfortunate, but there is no way that kid is sharing a name with my ex. My fiance isn't stopping and is begging for me to consider a variant of the name Alex or Zander, but honestly, I'm trying to move away from my ex, and any reminder of him is hard, and having a kid with his name would cut the wound deeper. Today, mother-in-law came with a baby blanket that my fiance's grandma made the brother. It has the name written right across it, and I asked her why she bought it. She said it was for the baby as he has that name. I saw it and I exposed me. How many times do I have to tell you guys that the baby will never ever have that name? I understand that you want to carry on the lineage, but I can't have a child with that name. Mother-in-law, my son died, and I want his legacy to be carried on. You won't even consider Alexander as a middle name. Me, it's not my problem what names you want me to use. I'm carrying and birthing this child, so I think I should have the right to veto your suggestions. It's bad your son died, but naming my son after him should be a choice, not an obligation. My in-laws left quickly after that. Fiance is crushed, and so are his parents. I feel like I'm letting down a lovely family that has so much for me, but if this is a hill I die on, so be it. I really don't know what to do. Small update, my lovely sister-in-law reached out to me after seeing these posts. She will be accompanying me to the birth as well as my husband, and will be in charge of keeping any paperwork until I'm sane enough to be able to sign it / choose the name, therefore preventing my fiance from writing a name we haven't agreed on. She's a great person and has gone through birth twice, so I'm more than happy with this. This is banking on our hospital allowing 2 people in by September, which is looking likely with the restrictions easing off. We are also going to discuss this matter with the birthing team, and mother-in-law is going on the blacklist of people not to allow into the ward. Ex-Mil has been forcing my daughter to call her mom. My first wife and mother of my daughter, now 9, passed away during childbirth. Naturally I was devastated, as was my ex-Mil, Gil. My late wife was an only child, so Gil started to view dear daughter as her replacement. I was never comfortable with this, but understand people grieve in their own ways, so I never said anything. I put a stop to any boundary stomping though. For example, when introducing dear daughter to people, Gil would always say "this is my baby" or "meet my daughter," and set up a nursery in her own home for when my daughter went to live with her. Yes, she actually said dear daughter would live with her. She even tried to convince the nurses at the hospital to let dear daughter go home with her after she was discharged. It took almost 2 hours to prove that she was actually my daughter and would be going home with me. For the first 2 years of dear daughter's life I focused entirely on her and didn't do any sort of dating. When she was 3 I met my second wife, who loves dear daughter like she is her own. When dear daughter was 6 we sat her down and explained that her biological mom was in heaven and DW was her stepmom. Gil doesn't like DW at all and hates the fact that dear daughter has a mother figure in her life. DW and I are now married. She is pregnant with our son and we're in the process of moving to another state. I was offered a transfer from my job with a pay rise and there are better school/daycare opportunities for dear daughter and the baby. Gil has known since we first started looking at houses and has done almost everything possible to stop it from happening. She called CPS on us, claiming we are neglecting dear daughter over our unborn son and aren't fit to care for her. She knows she would probably get custody of dear daughter if she were taken away. Thankfully both the state we currently live in and the state we are moving to don't have GP's rights. Gil is convinced we are doing this to spite her. Finally I got tired of her antics and told her that dear daughter is my child, so I get to decide what's best for her. Despite not liking Gil very much, I've never kept dear daughter from her. She visits Gil often and has sleepovers there. However, after her last visit I'm uncomfortable sending dear daughter there unsupervised. On the drive home dear daughter was unusually quiet. After prying a bit she asked me if we were going to abandon her when the baby was born. Of course I said no and asked why she thought that. She told me that Gil has been telling dear daughter that we won't care about her and only Gil will love her. Dear daughter also told me that for the past year or so Gil has been making dear daughter call her mom, but was told to not tell me or DW about it. She's also been telling dear daughter that she would be better off living with her and will find a way to make it happen. I'm so confused about what her endgame is here because I'm obviously never going to let that happen. Is she planning on kidnapping dear daughter? She was going to spend a few nights at Gil's before we left, but now I don't want her to. What if she doesn't give dear daughter back? Edit. Jill is a fake name. I feel sorry for DH's ex. I've been with DH for 29 years. For the first 10 of them, I'd have awarded my mother-in-law maid status. She's always been an overbearing, self-centered, attention-seeking, pity-partying woman. She has a 3-decade history of love bombing alternating with manipulation and snark if I don't want what she thinks I should want. Not just me, my lovely sister-in-law gets the same treatment. I learned to grey rock and info diet before I learned the names. I never had biological children and dealt with decades of when am I getting grandbabies and my friend thinks it's odd you don't have children yet, and then when DH and I emigrated you're doing this to keep my grandbabies away from me. Yes, the grandbabies she didn't have. Thing is, she did. DH has a son with his ex-partner. He lost custody and contact through the courts back in the bad old days when unwed fathers had no rights and closed adoption was routine. His description of her behavior when my stepson was born is full on baby rabies. He and his ex were living with mother-in-law at the time. They were 16 and 18 and she had moved in because her own mother was alcoholic and abusive. JUSTNOMIL pulled stunts like sneakily assembled their cot and other baby goodies while they were out, tried to insist on being present at the birth, and to this day claims she did everything for my baby boy because she didn't. No, of course she didn't. The poor girl could probably barely get a moment alone with him. Eventually Mil's relationship with DH's partner broke down to the point where they moved out with nowhere to go except back to her parents. Their relationship was doomed, and after clinging on to each other against her parents' wishes for another 18 months, they finally split up when SS was 20 months old. 3 years ago, we were contacted by my DH's son. It is hands down the best thing that ever happened to us, and I love him like he's my own. The two of them included me in their reunion journey and made us into a tight-knit little family. SS is more than welcome in my life and heart. My parents dote on him and his cousins are delighted to know him. The only downside has been the weirdness of my Mil's final transformation into a JUSTNOMIL. She developed the baby rabies again, but over an adult. He was almost 30 when he came back into DH's life, but she treats him like a toddler. She asked him to go for sleepovers, wanted to take him to Disneyland, and straight up told me that he was going to love her and not me because I'm not real family. She did this in front of him and he just stared open-mouthed. 3 years down the line and there are 2 results. First, I feel like texting his BO mum and telling her I sympathize for what JNMIL must have put her though. And second, SS only speaks to JNMIL about twice a year now, which means every FaceTime we have with her is filled with her trying to extract information from us about his private life, as if either of us would break his trust, and telling us to tell him he needs to contact her because she thinks she has cancer, as if, again, for context, she thinks she has cancer about every 10 to 12 weeks. It's like a package from Amazon. To her disappointment, it has not been true once yet. I was used to setting and keeping my own boundaries with her. I never really expected we would have to become the safety buffer between her and my SS. But there you go. I'm not too sure why I typed all that out, especially so long after the main events, except you guys and girls always make me feel like I'm not alone. And I'm sane after all. Thank you. Hey look, you made it to the end. First off, thank you for watching. Second, I'm planning on trying out this format for a while, excluding a couple I already made of course. Let me know what you think down below. Throw me a like or a sub if you're feeling generous. This channel is new and every sub means a lot. Alright everyone, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.